the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Mayor Hammond,
Present.
Councilman Beller,
Here.
Councilman Bergeron, Councilman Dishaw,
Here.
Councilman Martin,
Here.
Councilman DeFend,
Here.
Councilman Roble.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Very good. Note to all council members, in case you hadn't heard, we're still in the process of making sure our audiovisual system works correctly. From last meeting, the mics are now hot all the time, so be mindful of that before and after the meetings. Times will come in tomorrow or folks will come in tomorrow to adjust things a little bit farther. Unfortunately, for those that may or may not be able to hear us out there, there is no audio or visual being produced right now. Hopefully next meeting that'll be completed. So I just wanted to give you that update. And please, as a courtesy, remember to silence all of your cell phones and personal devices as well. The next item on the agenda.
I'll make a motion to excuse the absent members.
So moved. Support.
Motion and support to excuse the absent member. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously. The clerk was just bumping me in the arm to make sure I did that. So, next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of September 18th. Is that right, Dave? Any questions, deletions, or changes to said minutes?
So moved to approve.
Support. Motion by Martin, supported by Beller? Or who? I heard somebody down there.
There were two.
Okay. Any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously. Next item on the agenda is citizens to be heard on agenda items. Citizens to be heard on agenda items. Any citizens to be heard on agenda items. Final citizens to be heard on agenda items. Thank you very much. Report from department heads. Let's start out with Steve.
Good evening. Only one thing to report. There's an ongoing investigation with poaching with the DNR behind Wood Creek Sub. There was an arrest made and a violation issued, and the DNR confiscated some of the equipment that they were using back there. And like I said, I don't want to speak too much because it's still an ongoing investigation with the DNR. But that was Saturday, or started on the 28th, and then yesterday they had contact with a person out there. That's it.
Very good job. Questions for the chief? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, my wife text said the video is working,
Very good.
you know, but you can't hear.
Oh, okay.
We're halfway there.
Oh,
And I
we
think
just all
that's what-
wave to the
I
camera.
think that's what they got up, he just said up there that the microphones are very loud.
Okay, well,
Do you have a
Yeah.
master volume up there of any kind? Okay. Fine tuning.
report from department heads. Glenn?
Evening, folks. Just a
Evening.
couple of things here. For the month of September, we had just about 100 runs with our ambulances. 85 of them were transports to the hospital. We had a couple of them where we had enough staffing where we had both of our ambulances going to the hospital at the same time. So that's coming in handy at times.
The EMS, it was all EMS runs, the 100 runs?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Dakota Coleman, who was previously a part-time employee, has joined us today as a full-time employee, so he makes our number 8 at this point. Very happy to have him here. We do have a CPR class over at the library on Friday that firefighter Loria has volunteered to go ahead and help out, so he'll be handling that for them. Just a couple of days ago, we had the Boy Scout troops come over. They got to play around on the fire trucks. Again, it was firefighter Loria and Sergeant Rose that gave them the tour and showed them the trucks, and the kids were in heaven. They had a ball with it. And then in regards to training, Sean Curry and Eric Miracle just completed their pump apparatus operator school down in Monroe County. So they got their certifications for that. So, that's it for now.
Questions for the fire chief? Thank you, Glenn. Joe?
I don't really have anything. I just wanted to let you know that I'm still working on the Meyer appeal. Well, the assessor is working with them. Hopefully, we have something by the next meeting to bring to you. Because I made him go back and I didn't want to bring what they were offering to you guys.
Thank you.
So he's working on that. And the other thing is the actuarials for MERS are still working on the numbers. I didn't even get the first set to see if I liked them or not, so hopefully that might not be the next meeting either. That could be sometime in November or even December. You know, depends on when they get around to it. You know, and then the auditors will be here in 3 weeks. Okay?
Is it that time of year again already?
I know, I know. Me being sick last week didn't help that at all. All right, any questions or? Okay.
Thank you. Eric?
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Everything seems to be moving along pretty well. Will Carlton is probably about 2/3 done. They're a little bit behind, but they assure me there's no real problems. I want to let you know the sidewalks have been started. It's more a building issue, but they've been started. And this week,
Well, they are looking good.
yes, definitely. We should have final road patches for our water break started this week.
I'm sorry, what was that, the final?
Road patches from our water breaks, those will be started this week. So,
Questions for Eric?
No, just, thank you guys again. They did a nice job cleaning up the park there. That tree was down in the middle of the.
yeah, they're not done with that yet, so.
Well, I kind of thanked them personally this morning, but just let them know they did a good job with it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Michael?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I was hoping that people at home would be able to hear me, but I just want to make sure everybody knew that this weekend, starting Thursday at 3:30, the library will be closed as we're having the entryway cement poured in there, and will be closed from 3:30 Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Initially, we were scheduled to be closed that following Monday for staff and service, but we switched that to Friday, when we'll be closed for the other stuff. So I guess keep your fingers crossed that the weather holds good for us.
Jeez.
Because I know they're talking about rain, and that will do us well if it's the wrong rain. But that's, just make sure everybody knew.
Cool. Thank you. Any questions for the library director? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Pat, what do you have this evening?
Nothing this evening, sir.
Very good. Madam Clerk?
The only thing I have is that absentee ballots are still available at the clerk's office, and that's it.
Questions for the clerk? Mr. Zick?
Good evening, Mayor and Council, just what's on the agenda.
Very good. Any questions for Mr. Zick? Okay, next item on the agenda is report from council members. Larry, why don't you start this evening for us?
I have nothing this evening, other
Okay.
than what's on the agenda.
Jim?
I will ditto that, nothing this evening.
I like these kind of meetings.
It's a nice
Ken?
day. Pass.
We're playing euchre.
Yeah.
Compliment to that.
So when we, remove the economic development position out of the city, we still have, still has a key to the city hall and offices, correct?
Correct.
I mean, as, being it's not a city employee, shouldn't we have probably collected the keys and, you know, either leased out the office or whatever, but a non-employee having a key to the township hall, is that generally, it's not generally what we do. So I was wondering what our plan was with that. And my recommendation would be to, you know, make sure we get a key back, you know, so that we don't have a non-employee of the city having a key to the city hall. And as far as the offices and stuff like that, you know, being not an employee, then those offices should be turned back over to employees.
I was under the impression we were gonna leave that status quo, when we talked about that. We talked about not filling the position and letting that office space be there, but if that's the desire of council, I can approach a DDA about that and see
I mean,
how they feel. I mean,
if I'm not mistaken, I don't believe she's working from the city hall anyway, right?
yeah, oh yeah, she's still meeting, doing things here, using the office as.
But not doing any city,
She's working for the DDA here.
right.
That's,
So the DDA generally, in the past, has never had an office in the city or a key to the city hall.
that
So
is
I would,
correct.
my recommendation would be, is to, you know, keep that the way we always have it, and, you know, have her turn in her key to where you just can't come and go from the city hall being a non-city employee.
But the DDA is a subsidiary of the city.
Not really. Does any of our, TIFA, you know, any of our planning commission or anything like that have keys to the city hall?
I don't know.
We've never restricted them from having keys. I know there has been in the past where several chairmen turned in keys when they left to me 4 years ago.
Have asked, and we've not given them. So, you know, my motion is that, you know, the employee turns in the keys when they're not an employee any longer and vacates the office, unless we're leasing an office to the DDA. Because the DDA is not doing any city work, so the DDA doesn't need an office in the city hall. The city employee that would be replacing in that office would then get a key and would then take up an office. But that is no longer the case with this position. So, you know, I make a motion that she turns in her key and vacates the office.
Is there support for the motion?
I'll support it. But I have some discussion too. The thing that I have to consider is the person is on the payroll as a city employee. I don't mind if we have to do the payroll, but how can we switch that, as an ask the treasurer, to a separate line item for the DDA and not be carried as a city employee? Maybe ever by the attorney, can that be done?
You mean remove it from economic development and make it?
DDA, yes. Is it possible to do that? Instead of carried as a city employee, it'd be carried as a DDA employee. We'd still do the payroll on it, but it'd be carried as a separate
Yeah,
item.
I can make that change, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is something that's able to be done.
Okay, that's the thing is that, you know, because the DDA does pay us X amount of dollars to the city, so I figure we can at least do the payroll on it, but I just want to keep it as
Just a couple $100,000.
this is a separate, you know, I'm talking just a separate line item as the DDA.
Right, he is right, I do still have it under economic, I didn't even think of that, I can move that, I can change that.
Just make
Because I
a
know the
separate line item.
the
to
funds
come
do
up.
come out of DDA.
I will, yeah, I will.
I'll amend my motion to include that as well. But like I said, there's been no DDA member that has had a key or an office in the city.
Who opens the door when they have planning commission meetings and TIFA meetings?
The person that does the minutes, TIFA, like, the person that decided the minutes.
Right.
But who's ever assigned to do the minutes of that lets
So-
everyone know.
So they have a key on that.
And DDA previously did have, I know, the previous chair of planning did have access to the building.
Well, maybe I gotta put it different ways, can this person be restricted to business hours? That somebody has to be within the office, they can't come in on weekends? Can you do that with the key fobs?
Sure.
You know, just during business hours? I don't know who does the key fobs
Yeah.
anymore, so they don't have the complete I know Rick's talking about the complete access to the city with it, but during maybe business hours that they get in and maybe cut it down to one office and not the two of them, maybe we could do a little compromise. I don't know if that'd be up to you, take it down to
Because
one
I know,
office.
you know, she has a lot of the DDA records in her office there.
Yeah,
And she
office
comes
sits,
in-
that's what he was just talking,
And
office
and she
sits.
comes in and does, you know, printouts and things like that for meetings and everything.
Which she's always done.
But in the past, when she's always done that, that was when she was a city employee and doing stuff for the city as well. But that's no longer the case anymore. The city shouldn't even be used, you know, as far as, you know, to do any of that kind of stuff. Is it, if the DDA wants, and it is exactly what the DDA said, if they want to do their own thing, which they said they did, they want to hire their own attorney, which they did, to write a opinion against the council, which they did, then the DDA acts on their own. And that includes no office in the city and no key to the city hall, that they can roam freely in the city. It doesn't make any sense. It's never been done before, and I don't know why we're not sticking to that now. When any employee leaves employment here, generally it's, you turn in your keys, you're escorted with a box out of there to make sure that you're not taking any city property and stuff like that. That's how it works.
I agree on a termination, that's correct, but I don't think that this particular case is a termination. I think the DDA is now funding solely instead of partially funding with Tifa and DDA that position. And the city also contributed at one time in that position.
But no longer does.
Correct, but I think that might be something that we need to work out in some format. The DDA, when you say the DDA is independent and they don't act on the behalf of the city, I don't know another agency in the city that does a lot for the city. I mean, they do streetscapes, they do so much, and it's for our city.
In the DDA district.
Yeah, in the city. I
No,
mean,
they work strictly within the DDA district. That's what the opinion wrote back to us.
Correct.
That's what that's what I just said.
But I concur with.
You said no. You said in the city.
Right, they
The
do, but
DDA district.
the DDA district's in, I guess my point was the DDA district is in the city.
That is correct.
And so ex ofacto, they're doing work for the city and in the city.
That is
You know?
not what their attorney's opinion was it?
But don't care what the attorney's opinion said, I'm reading the ordinance.
Well, they
And-
used DDA funds to hire an attorney to tell us that they're not gonna do, that position is no longer going to do anything for the city. It is strictly gonna use it for the DDA, correct?
I'm not recalling that in that, but if you say that's what's in it, I would.
The city attorney's right next to you nodding his head.
Yeah,
I
it's,
didn't-
that's,
Yes,
you are
so-
100%
Exactly. So my thing is that it's not, nobody from Tifa, does anybody have Tifa have keys? Does anybody have planning commission have keys?
She's on.
She's an employee of the city,
I get
you
it,
know,
but it's
so.
a twofold thing.
No, it's not a twofold thing. It's a city, a no longer city employee has keys to the city hall. And if you guys are all good with that, then, you know, but I don't think it's appropriate, and I don't think it's appropriate to have two offices. Even our city employees only have one office. So, that's just, you know, that's just what I think should happen.
I just don't think that, the saying the DDA, you know, doesn't do things in the city and doesn't do things for the city is a little overstretching. I think
They definitely do things in the city.
right,
I don't disagree with that, in the DDA district. Their attorney wrote an opinion back to the council telling the city council that this position would no longer do anything for, any work for the city of Flat Rock. Hence that position turned over any grants, any sidewalk work and stuff like that, turned it over and laid it on other city employees and left it that way. So I don't see where there's anything that keeps her as a city employee, keeps that position as a city employee, and allows that position to have a key to the city hall and continue to come and go freely. Because I don't think it's a good security thing for the city.
I don't think it's a security concern at all, now or then. There are cameras everywhere. And you're right, there's ways to lock down IDs and things like that to get in the building at special times. As far as the offices go, the DDA has a lot of documentation projects while we were acting in a coordinated effort with Tifa and with the city that need to be divvied out. I mean, you know, if your motion goes through, it's not gonna be that clean. I mean, there's going to be a tremendous amount of work on the documentation, who gets to keep what documents. You're absolutely right, when you turn in an employee, you walk up with the sheriff, and the sheriff takes the box, fills your stuff, and you walk out the door. This isn't that simple. You know, it is, you know, there were many of the plans and procedures that the current city officials use, from building and safety to DPW to the assessors, who use the engineering drawings, designs, and things that are funded by the DDA for Garden Boulevard, for, you know, the streetscapes, for all the boat ramp and all the projects that they're trying to get done, that are going to need a lot of separation. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, what are we going to do with documents that we need to retain, and the documents that DDA need to retain.
Well, I mean, it's the same, I'm sure it's the same thing as any commission. They would just come in during business hours, approach the person who represents what they're looking for, and that person would then give them what they need, or what they need to do what they come in to do. You know, but I still say that, you know, I don't think that, you know, I'm confident that this person's probably working from home and doesn't need the office. So if they're gonna work from home, then free up the office space, and you can, I'm fine if you wanna condense it down to one, and if something is needed, then come and get it out of that. That's fine with me. I mean, but if nobody's occupying that office, and our own employees don't have two offices, I mean, it just seems like, you know, not right to me.
I think there's a bigger picture here than what we're talking about. And Mark alluded to the situation where the DDA is doing what they want when they want to, and we have to go to the DDA to look at blueprints and drawings that are of work that's being done in the right of way, and that's what you said. Okay, what's wrong with that picture? We have, in our ordinances, we have people who's responsible for that. That's established. Our DPS directors should know exactly what's going on and everywhere they go, and what's going on in every public right of way. I shouldn't have to go to the DDA. I should have to go to the DPS director to get the paperwork of what's going on in a public right of way, in any right of way. So I think what's happening is we're fighting, and the DDA just wants to do what they want to do, and it may or may not be in the best interest of the city. We're not getting any input from the council. The DPS director's not getting any input to the DDA. The building department's not getting any input. Nobody is doing anything to influence the DDA. We've separated them now to the point where we don't have any input. I should not have to go to the DDA to get paperwork of what's going on in this city. That's not their job. If you look at our ordinances and our laws, department heads are responsible for the city, not the DDA. We shouldn't have to go to the DDA to get blueprints and drawings of what they did. And it shouldn't, like I told you 7 months ago, we should be getting sign-offs from all department heads before they do anything. And we still don't have any indication that that's gonna happen. So here we are, fighting amongst each other right now, when the DDA could be dynamic for this city to do things. We did 3% of the water lines, 3% on Will Carlton, all the water lines. So we got 97% of the water lines still left to do in the downtown area. Again, I had to be the guy that says, hey, we need the DDA to help us with this. They chose not to, so we had to force our hands a little bit. Let's start working together. Let's start making this town better. Let's start working on our infrastructure. Let's make it a better town. I don't, let's stop fighting amongst ourselves.
This isn't a good way to mend fences.
Huh?
This isn't a good way to mend fences.
Well, either
Just move
hiring
the
an
director
attorney to
out.
write a position against the council is not a good way either, is it?
Well, there needs to be a way to have input into the DDA with the money that they're spending in the downtown area. There has to be some kind of influence from the council, from the DPS director, the building department, the city clerk, the treasurer, the police department, and the fire department, who should have a collective agreement of what they're doing. So, you know, downtown area needs to be striped. You can only park so close to a sidewalk or an intersection. Why can't the DDA help fund some of that stuff? The police department can bring up a program for that kind of stuff. There's so many ways that we can improve this town. Let's start creating a way of improving those things in the DDA. I don't know what the answer is, but sitting here and talking about
I don't
separate
think taking the
organization.
keys away is gonna help anything in the city. I mean, she's still getting paid.
Do the paychecks come from the same place, no matter who funds it? Okay.
So
It's
why
still
doesn't the,
taxpayers.
why doesn't the work come from
So-
the same place, no matter who funds it? But that's not what that's not what their attorney
Well, we don't
wrote
have our
back to
water
us.
department doing things at the rec center. You know, we have departments, we do keep things separated.
But no non-employee has a key, so,
Right.
I mean, that's,
But her paychecks are still coming from the city.
well,
But you gotta agree with Larry, the DDA doesn't really want to work with us. They
No,
said,
I-
okay,
we do
here's
have
our
an issue
budget,
with the
here's the AR, leave us alone, we'll do what we wanna do, we have answer to nobody.
I'll
That's
agree with
basic-
you to a percentage of that.
Yes,
There's also, we have not been structuring
Communicating.
ourselves as council here to start putting things in place. We don't, like, the sign-offs. That had, I mentioned that 7 months ago and it still hasn't happened. I don't even know what they're doing right now, the DDA. They could be putting more streetscape down, I don't know. You know, I'm telling you what, my opinion is water lines need to be the top priority in everything we do because 3% of what we spend on right now is nothing. It's
and
gonna
you
be-
mentioned that to the DDA, and did they act on it?
Sure.
Are they
They
doing
put
it?
$300,000 extra into their budget and said, give us a project that we can spend it on. And nobody has come forward with a project yet.
I will work on that for you, Jim.
So,
I will make sure that gets to you
you
in the
wanted
next
the
30
money,
days.
we put it in the budget, but we haven't heard anything, so don't complain.
I'm not complaining that we're not doing anything.
Don't complain the
I will-
DDA isn't doing anything.
I will make sure that gets taken care
Well,
of.
isn't it the DDA's job to get with the DPW? And, I mean, why is it Larry, as a city councilman, have to go out and find, a
project.
water line projects for them to do? That's the
That-
DPW, we directed them.
That should be the DPW director's job, but why hasn't
And
he
Larry
come
has
to
told
us?
the DDA to go to the DPW and get the thing, and that's not happened. So they're not coming in to work at the
Well-
city because it's not.
We're all
it's
pointing
obvious.
at making everybody else's excuse. I will make sure we get it taken care of. I'll take the responsibility to make sure you have a project in 30 days.
And when is the next DDA meeting? You know,
Thursday.
Maybe sometime show up and talk to the DDA
Yeah,
instead of.
it's an
just
open
their-
meeting, anybody can come.
Correct.
Thursday at 7 o'clock.
We have a councilman on that goes to every every meeting.
And reports nothing.
Well, sitting there.
I know. So,
We're
Yeah.
working on projects, trying to get things in line.
And
Projects
did
that
that
we've
re-
had planned for a long time and have never got acted on.
what?
What? I can't remember off the top of my head. Because I know one of the things is a traffic study down along Arsenal Road to try to figure out what to do with that area, to try to get it safer for pedestrians down there. That's one of the big things we're doing.
Might want to start with sidewalks along there on Arsenal.
And we've talked about sidewalks on Arsenal, we've talked about the road on Arsenal. The trouble is, where's the infrastructure to be able to, can we do with the road?
Well, we know that's a 1926 water line, so whatever you do there, you need to start with that first.
A wooden one.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion of support on the floor to get the keys back from the DDA director and to evacuate our offices. Any more discussion on the motion?
I mean, I'll amend it if you want it. If you think the offices are important for her to keep, I'll amend it to just the key.
I think there should be further discussion before a motion is made. I think we need to start structuring the relationship between the DDA and the council and the rest of the city.
Well, how do we structure how much the office is used when we're not sitting there watching the office? You know, you can talk to the employees, they don't see a person in there every single day, so if the offices aren't being used, they need to be used somewhere else.
She doesn't.
They're not storage units, they're
We
storage
don't need two,
upstairs.
she doesn't need two
Well, one is,
two spaces.
I can talk about that a little bit, is that's where there is no storage here at City Hall for lack of, the stuff that is stored in that second office is stuff that came out of the elevator repair room that the fire chief, the old fire chief said, you know, we can't store stuff in there. That's not what that's for, it needs to move. So a lot of the banners that you see, that display in the city, a lot of the, signs that are out, are stored in there. I'm not sure all the stuff that's stored in there, but there are a lot of things that are utilized seasonally through the city are stored in that second office space, as well as other things that find their way, needing a storage space as well. So
So we're using prime office space for storage. I guess that would be a concern I have. There's gotta be other spaces for storage.
How long you
Really
worked in
has
this,
to be.
how long have you worked in this building, Larry?
Well, I can tell you right around the corner in the basement, there's storage, there's all kinds of it, records that need to be going through it and reorganized and.
Yeah, again, you know, like I said, I don't wanna, beat up on the department heads, but that's a project that I've heard that's gonna be done for 4 years, that they're gonna go through and
4
purge files. I can only talk about my tenure, that they're gonna purge files and make more room so there's storage in there. Understand that file storage room, I haven't been in it in, forever, but there's no, it's very hard to walk through, there's stuff stacked on top of stuff.
Ford Motor Company's casting, I bet you still in there.
I bet it is, I absolutely bet.
We
it
don't
is.
need those.
There's some probably pretty historical stuff we could get to Lila too in there. But, you look at the things that are stored upstairs on the windowsills and things of, shovels that were used for, Auto Alliance when they were here, that there's stuff stashed in every crook and cranny of this building. And storage is one of the things that's at a premium in many of our facilities. You don't think about that, but that's part of what that one office is used for. And as far as, her time in the offices, whether she's in the office during the day, partially during the day, again, it is up to the DDA, and like I said, I can't speak to that because I'm not here in the city hall every day, but I don't see a great need for office space. But you're right, it is a prime area for office space. But, is there a need for that? Do we need, more people sitting in those kind of offices? We give the assessor has their office, and the assessor's a contractor, so I don't know whether they have keys to the facility
Is
or
the
not.
assessor a city employee?
No, assessor's a contractor.
No, they're private contractors.
But I come in every day, he's in here usually, so.
Yeah,
I
somebody
see him
is
every
there.
day, but I've come to City Hall for the last 2 years, come every day, and believe it or not, I've never seen this person in the office the whole time I've been here. I come in every day.
Can't
You
defend
wanna
that,
keep
or-
the storage, you wanna keep one of them as a storage thing that is universal to storing all that stuff, I'm fine with that. Then the other office gets emptied. I mean, I'm good with that. Whatever you wanna do. But like I said, I don't think that, she can come in during business hours and speak with whoever is pertaining to the issue at hand. I mean, they're here every day, and she's not. So I don't think she needs an office or a key.
Any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'm gonna call the question. Madam Clerk, could you reread the motion?
Can I have a clear motion?
Just go with one of the offices. They can keep the storage one.
Do you still want her keys turned in?
Yes,
Okay. And you want her payroll to go to DDA?
sure.
Okay. so they may keep one office.
The payroll of the DDA doesn't need to be promotion. Joanne's doing that anyways. Right? You're changing that, the line
Do
item.
we need that on the motion or not?
That doesn't need to be on the motion, does it?
Well, yeah, because I'm gonna have to change the, I'm gonna have to change the auditors would like to see a motion, yes.
Okay.
Okay. So I have a motion for the DDA director to turn in their key, and they may keep one office as storage, and for their payroll to go to DDA and not the economic development director position. Is that correct?
Can we separate any of that?
How would you,
The second, the changing the
payroll?
payroll as a separate motion.
It's up to the motion.
Yeah, it's up to the motion maker.
It's an
Well,
administrative.
I'm asking Rick.
Yeah.
Could you make two separate ones?
I can make two separate ones. So we'll just,
That's fine with the support also. Just that the motion be for one office and turn the keys to it.
All in favor of one office and returning the keys from the DDA director? All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
aye?
All opposed, same sign?
No.
Aye.
All right. Mayor Hammond,
No?
Councilman Beller,
No.
Councilman Dishaw,
No.
Councilman Martin,
No.
Councilman DeFend,
Yes?
Councilman Roble.
Yes.
Motion failed.
The next motion is to approve a budget line item transfer of the payroll from economic development to DDA director budget line item. Correct? That's,
I don't really care about that. You can do what you want with that. You know what, you guys don't wanna do it right, so you do whichever you want with that. Somebody wants to make a motion on that, that's fine.
I'll make the motion.
Do we need a motion?
You should do it on
Yeah,
one
she
line.
said, she said.
Yes, I'll make a motion, we.
yeah, we're changing a budget line, so we have to have it approved by council.
Support, then I'll support.
Who, do we have a motion support? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously. What else you got, Rick?
That's all I got.
Okay. Steve?
Just what's on the agenda.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor, I had one other thing I just thought of.
go ahead.
What's going on with our bike path improvements along Gibraltar Road? I know we have a lot of grant funding for that. What's ever happened with the project? Eric's just shaking his head no.
I didn't know anything about a grant for it. That was handled through economic development director and sidewalk and building department.
Oh, look at that.
You don't have the building department.
So we now no longer have anybody handling the grant money that we have approved to fix the bike
All
path.
I know is the economic development, dropped the stuff on the desk in the building department, said it's not my job no more, and walked down the hall. That's what we gotta deal with.
And that could have easily been solved too by,
Yes.
How?
how?
Yeah.
By budgeting some money out of the general fund toward the economic development director, or now the DDA director, to
That
make
was
it
when they
legal,
were
to
employed by
make
the
it
city.
legal by the state. That was the problem. The state says DDA money cannot be expended out of the DDA area. And when she started working for other projects in the city out of the DDA area, that was illegal.
But that time she was working the city.
She was a city employee.
I'll check with the
And
building.
at the budget time, that's why I said, put something into the economic development director from the city,
Where
and she
where
can
does,
continue doing
do
those
we, do we
projects.
take any money out of the general fund and put it towards DDA?
No,
General fund money goes to DDA. Yes, we have general fund money that goes to DDA.
I know.
how does
So-
general fund money go to the DDA?
If DDA goes away, general fund has an increase.
Right, but that's not general fund money. The DDA money is captured from taxes.
Yes.
Not
They
all of
catch
it.
Before it comes to the city.
So if you
DDA
didn't have
money is made
DDA,
up of
So
general fund
if you
money.
didn't have DDA, you'd get 40% more, correct?
No, it gets 60%
60% we collect? Okay,
So 40% of that money is out of general, would be in general fund, it's out of general fund. 61% is out of general fund, and it goes into the DDA.
correct.
So.
But you have another 39% that comes from the county that you have available to spend through the DDA.
So we could
that would have to be
technically,
returned
we
back
could
to the
just
county.
fund the DDA with 39%, is what you're saying. And have 61%
No, it
go to.
doesn't work that way. When they capture it all, they capture all of it, and they have to use it. You can't
I
get,
So,
think-
but if you didn't have DDA, the 61% would be in general fund.
Right.
So no matter how you slice it or put it anywhere you want, it's still taxpayers' money.
But
So
you- but
you're still.
the 39%.
I
But by
understand
having
that.
the DDA district, you capture the 39% that's county money, and you can use it locally. Otherwise, that just goes to the county and you never see it again.
But you get your 61%.
But you're getting an additional 39% from the county.
I
now.
understand that.
49.
Well, I think the initial
It's-
question that kind of got sidetracked was the bike path improvement grant. I
Right.
will follow up on that with building and safety and either turn it over
So-
to Raines or McKenna to follow up on that, because I know that's a time-sensitive
Yeah.
issue. So to take that out of the equation,
Okay,
I think we kind of got down a rabbit hole there with grant funding and dissolving the DDA and things like that.
We didn't say anything about dissolving the DDA, it's the,
Well, the word of, if we don't have the DDA, we get 60%. You know, I understand that we didn't actually say we're gonna dissolve the
okay.
DDA, but I did, that is part of,
well, DDA is an important thing, I recognize that. I'm just saying, the other thing, out of the 31%, we're paying a director $100 and some thousand with benefits to run that position, which used to be just a normal volunteer position, appointed position by,
wasn't ever a volunteer position.
so other DDA members get paid?
No, the other DDA members don't, but the director did.
There was, now,
The director has always been,
but,
because the
but wasn't
director,
before.
the director has been paid because the director was the economic development director.
That worked for the city and the DDA, and was paid by Tifa and DDA.
Correct. Originally, it was paid by the city
By the city.
only.
It's still
Back in
all
Jones's
taxpayers'
time.
money. That's what I
Back in
don't see.
Jones's
So,
time, it came out of the general fund as the economic development director and was associated with the DDA. Jones changed it so it was 50-50 Tifa and DDA funding for the economic development director position because the city budget got tight. So he found a way to keep that position open.
Well, I know the attorney for the DDA made a thing that DDA has worked with for 15 years. Tifa paid for the DDA position and they got nothing for it, but that was okay. But now that it's this way, it's not okay, that they can do stuff for the city.
It's because of the state statute.
Well, the state statute was there and Tifa was there too. I guess we were doing it legally then too, weren't we?
okay, I think we're rehashing what we just talked about.
Yep.
So
Okay,
if we can move on.
there's conversation.
Okay. My reports are probably, hopefully not gonna be as controversial. Statewide, emergency alert system test is Thursday, October 4th. It's testing all of your cell phone devices. The time is kind of, we kind of think it's 2 o'clock. So if your cell phones go off, it's gonna go off similar to an Amber Alert. And so don't be surprised if that happens. They're trying to, all of your phones now have something called a dual NAM in them, which is a second phone number that only the federal agencies have access to for EAS messaging. Like in the old days, it used to interrupt TV signaling and things like that. So that is going to be tested on Thursday, October 4th, so be conscious of that. The other thing I wanted to bring up was the clerk supplied you with a emergent response from West Shore. I had them at the August storms that came through. I got reports from residents that they couldn't hear the outdoor warning sirens. I don't know that anybody was outdoors during those winds, but some of them said they couldn't hear the sirens go off, so I had the vendor come out, which happened to be doing Fermi siren checks in the area, called in a favor and had them check our sirens. And lo and behold, there is one siren on Arsenal Road that is significantly damaged to the point where it will not sound again. The bill you have before you is from West Shore Services, and it is to get that siren up and running again. It is over the amount that any one department head can bring up. This just literally, the city treasurer and I talked about this afternoon. She assures me that there is funding somewhere where we can get this back operational again. And I think it is an emergent matter. Hopefully the severe weather is gone, and we won't get hit again with severe weather. But I don't want to have that siren be lost in translation and just kind of forgot about. We do have a maintenance agreement with West Shore Services. West Shore Services came out in January and did our PM, and the sirens were working at that time. Thank you to Eric and his crew. They did have to go out and trim some trees and bushes back so the guy could get into a couple of the Peters Road site, and there was another site that I know they went into and looked at as far as access to the site. So all of our sites have been looked at. As far as I know, they're all operational except for the Arsenal Road site. I'd like your permission to pay that bill and repair our siren and get it back to operational status.
So moved.
Okay. Also, motion and support. Motion by Martin, supported by Beller. Any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously. One of the other comments is Planning Commission. We've had a couple people depart the Planning Commission. They have not been able to get a quorum. And the next meeting is this next week, or this week, I'm sorry. I kind of lost the week there. And we kind of like to fill one of the positions so that you can't have a quorum. Planning is a very critical position, or critical commission. I don't have a lot of the details on it, but the commission chair, Chairman Smith, and I have talked about this. He wants to bring up Mark Ferguson for filling that position. Joanne, you did talk to him today, and he is interested in doing that. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Mark. He's a longtime resident of town. I think he could be an asset to the Planning Commission. So I'd like to put his name up for approval from you guys to fill an empty position in the Planning Commission. I'll check with the clerk to see where we're going to squeeze them in. I know there's at least one open position, if not two, and we'll see if we can't get him in the position that's going to have him the longest in that, if it's all right with you guys.
I'll make a motion. Support.
Motion and support to approve Mark Ferguson for Planning Commission. Any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously. While we may or may not have the audience listening out there, our boards, commissions, and authorities, despite our disputes with them, need your help. There are many that are short of people. Beautification is one that is very, very short. If there's anybody who would like to serve on beautification, there are immediate openings on that. Tifa also has had some resignations, and so we need, I know there's positions that are open there. Please, if you're interested in serving the city in any way, even election workers, I'll put that plug in there for you. See the clerk, bring your letter of interest. The clerk is knowledgeable about what positions and what boards and authorities have openings. We need help. I mean, it's a big job to run this city, and we rely on the boards, authorities, and commissions to advise us on how to move forward with some of these highly technical tasks. You know, historical, as we saw most recently, was tasked rather heavily to do a lot of work most recently, and without that longevity in that group, we wouldn't have been successful at moving forward as we did with that. So please, if you have anybody that knows anyone, or you can think of anyone, please twist our arm a little bit and try to get them to come into the city and work in those commissions. It's very rewarding to move that stuff forward. Any questions for me? Next item on the agenda is the awards and presentation. We have a presentation from Safe Built. Sir, you'd like to come down? And I understand it's our very, very first PowerPoint. So I'm probably gonna have to move it myself.
Unless you want to just turn around.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Madam Clerk, and City Attorney. My name's Steve Burns. I'm the Vice President of Operations for Safe Built. We have, well, maybe it's not working. It's not advancing. Sorry about that. Just, yeah, I don't know if you have to click that. I don't think it's woke up. Yeah, I'll do it that way. Okay, new technology. Thank you. Appreciate the help.
Newer than you know.
Safe Built. I'm Steve Burns, Vice President of Operations. I'm also a registered building official, inspector, and plans examiner in the state of Michigan. We have Steve Nero, who's the sales person that worked on your account, and we'll also assign a regional director. His name's Glenn Lindsay, who is also a certified building official and plans examiner and inspector. Safe Built's been in business for over 28 years. We were founded doing building department services and started in 1992. We work across 30 states plus the District of Columbia. We've been in Michigan since 2010. We have nearly 1,500 local government agencies across the country that we work in, and we're pushing nearly 2,000 employees nationwide. We have other service offerings besides building services, but we do anything from code enforcement to building official only, disaster recovery if there's been a disaster, planning and zoning services, housing inspections, rental inspections, fire plan review, and assistance with fire inspections for jurisdictions. We have people with the proper certifications to do that. Currently, we're with 60 municipalities in the state of Michigan. We have over 90 employees in Michigan. Currently, we do work. Currently, that's a little correction on Negrozil. We are just doing planning and zoning, ongoing planning for them right now. We do rental inspections in the city of Detroit. And Romulus, we do planning and zoning for them. South Lyon, we are a full-service building department. And we have many others if you would like to have more references that we could provide a full comprehensive list of all those municipalities that we do serve in the state. Why Safe Built? We are local. We are all local people from Michigan with the proper Act 407 certifications to perform these duties. We've been serving neighboring jurisdictions in the same capacity not too far from here. Great customer service records from all of our customers across. We poll them every year for customer satisfaction. Knowledge of local codes and ordinances. We get in depth and learn your local ordinances, so we are working hand in hand with your zoning ordinances while working on issuing permits. Great experience across the team with all the different types of softwares that municipalities in Michigan use, from BSNA to Bluebeam, Acela, Intergov, Project Docs, etc. We have a QA/QC program for our inspectors and our plans examiners, where we do quarterly audits for both plan review and inspections to make sure that the quality is up. We have a couple sets of eyes that do peer reviews and ride-alongs with the senior managers with the employees to see how they are in the field doing their inspections. And dedicated community staff. We just want to, for the communities we serve, when I have a very, dedicated team that goes there regularly, so it's not just a revolving door except for covering for vacations or training or if somebody's out ill. So you get to see the same people and they get to learn about your community. So we gave a couple options. We were asked to do a percentage of fee option and an hourly rate option. So the first option, the percentage of fee, we proposed an 80-20 fee split for inspections and an 85-15 fee split for plan review. And that is all subject to negotiation if there was to be a change. That's based on your current fee schedule. So if that fee schedule was amended, we could amend that percentage up or down. Option 2 is the hourly rates for building official duties, building inspections, electrical inspections, plumbing, mechanical, plan review, fire and structural reviews if you need a structural engineer to do a review on a project. And then planning to the right, the additional planning services billed at an hourly rate. And it's broke out by the experience level of the planner that would be assigned depending on your needs. And with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
I don't know whether you can talk specifically about South Lyon or not. Were you, you're 100% South Lyon, you're on the
Yes,
whole.
correct.
Were you the, did you come into that on a bid process, or were you there previously doing planning and zoning, or?
No, originally, they had lost some staff members abruptly, so they had asked us to come in and supplement. Then they lost some more staff, so then they asked us for a proposal and other companies for a proposal, and we submitted a proposal and we were selected.
I'd personally like to see and talk to maybe 2 or 3 of the other full jurisdictions that you, in our area that you service.
Sure.
Again, it doesn't have to be an expansive listing, just maybe 2 or 3 of them, so.
Just get like a radius around the city?
Yeah,
Okay.
So we can
I'll
see.
provide that to the clerk.
Yeah, and like I said, City of Detroit, good luck with that. I mean, it's rental inspections in the City of Detroit must keep you very, very busy, so. Questions from council for Steve?
I had the pleasure of meeting with Steve earlier
Good.
last week, and I like what he says. I like how he's structured the organization and what he feels he can do for us. I think now what we need to do is try to figure out how we're gonna structure ourselves and work with Steve in relationship to the zoning and the planning. I think there should be some deeper thought on how we're gonna get to that and what he can actually offer us and how we can make it work. I've been thinking about it for the last week to 10 days, and I'm slowly coming to what I think we need to do. I just need a little more time to meet with Steve again and then talk to Joanne in regards to financing, and we gotta make it work, because we have a contract with McKenna and Associates when it comes to the planning and zoning. If he brings in this, how is that gonna work with that? Because he's gonna be doing some of the zoning. Like I said, zoning review has to be done before a building permit can be issued. So who's gonna be the ultimate zoning person responsible for the decision for zoning? I do believe it's gonna be him. Just have to make sure, if we do hire him, it'll be based on our ordinance, and have to be identified for him as he'll be the last answer for zoning.
Well, and I think the zoning, I agree, I think we need to, as a council, maybe have a work session or educate ourselves a little bit more about how the building and safety department is currently working, what kind of performance we see as a council for that department, as well as the zoning and planning services, because they're not, a lot of the stuff that comes out of building and safety is educational. A lot of the time is just, they'll come in and not have an idea on how to build a garage or build a shed. And a lot of that is educational. And not knowing you're supposed to have a permit for that, and how deep the footers have to go and things of that nature. So, you're right, the zoning has to be checked before the permits are issued, but that's an internal thing that I think we need to buff up a little bit and make sure that's there. And then, it works hand in hand with planning commission, and I'd like to see, some, thoughts, I'd like to, I don't know whether council meeting's a place to do that, or a work session's a place to do that, but I'd like to see a little bit of time spent on infrastructure, and, you know, obviously Joanne would have to be there for the financial part of it. But I have learned something, and I'm sure Steve is well aware of this as well, is that most building and safety departments are encouraged to break even.
To what?
They're encouraged to break even. I don't know how else to phrase that, but, you know, we're not supposed to be deficit spending. We're not supposed to be putting money into that department. It should generate enough funds
Well,
to
that's not necessarily true.
support its own operation. I think that's what, you know, our last guy
The
said.
state law says you can't spend money on a building permit for a police car, or you gotta
Oh,
keep
that-
it,
that's
you
not-
gotta keep it in the building department.
Oh, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the funds generated from building and safety should support building and safety.
Theoretically speaking, because you're gonna have times when the economy goes bad and the permits are gonna go down, so
I
it's
don't
not-
disagree.
It's semantics. You can't say that the building department's always gonna cover
I didn't say
its
always.
cost. Well,
I said it should be closer than it is now.
well,
It's woefully neglectful of that number, and I think that's something that we, as this board, needs to be aware of, is we need to make significant changes. We need to make them quickly, whether it's Safe Built, whether it's McKenna, whether it's Carlisle, whatever the vendors that are responding.
Yeah, but you gotta
I
work-
think we're on the right path, but I think what we need to do is have an understanding of what we're trying to accomplish so that we can select the right vendor
But
for.
but you also gotta understand that there's a lot more than just a building permit that comes out of the building department. You got sidewalks, you got floodplains, you got wetlands, you got planning commission, you got zoning board of appeals, you got engineering reviews that's gonna come through all this stuff. So, and you got zoning. Zoning is a huge part of the building department that you normally don't always collect fees, and then you got the enforcement of zoning that's out there. So there's no way the building department's ever gonna cover the total cost of, that's kinda like saying the police department is gonna cover all their costs on their tickets they write.
No,
I
absolutely
know,
not.
but I'm just saying, you can't look at the building department as funding its whole department based on permits. It's not gonna happen.
Well, not on permits, but all the costs you talked about should not cost the city money to do. It should cost those people who are trying to do those projects in the city. And right now, we're not in that position. I mean, we're in a position where the tail's wagging the dog. We're not in a position with one full-time employee and 3 part-time employees to generate any kind of revenue that's gonna be substantial in that department. And I think that's where we're at right now, and we.
Understand, we need to get it closer to a funding part that's gonna cover
Yes.
more of the cost, but it's never gonna cover all of it. It's
And
not
that's
gonna
fine,
happen.
but like I said, looking at the budget, and I haven't discussed the budget with Steve, but I have discussed it with McKenna, and I have discussed it with, you know, previous director that was there, and said that's one of the biggest problems is, you know, getting those fees and getting those services up to where they should be and the things we should be doing that they don't have time to be doing because they're so short-staffed. And South Line is a prime example of that. I happen to know somebody who left the airport and went to South Lyon and on the political side of things, and they absolutely said that was, you know, one of the problems they had is they could not get or retain the qualified people to do the building official job there. And that's, you know, that's what we're looking at. So I think that's, you know, we're in that same boat. We have been in that boat for, you know, at least 4 years now. You know, and I think this is a good first step. I think we're saying the same thing.
I think we're going on the right track. I think part-time.
Any more questions from anybody else? I don't want this to be the Mark and Larry show, but. Steve, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is unfinished business. We do have something to do with historical district committee members. We've been going back and forth with the state as far as what members need to be on there. Mr. Zick's been involved a little bit with that. Lila has, Lila has provided us a list. She's the chairman of the Historical Commission, of people who are willing to serve on the Historical District Study Committee. If you guys remember, back when Larry championed the Save the Reading Building project, this was one of the things that the state looked at, was we didn't have a Historical District Study Committee to submit the proper paperwork to SHPO, which I don't remember the acronym for that, but is the state historical
Preservation Office.
Oh, there you go. I knew somebody would. So there was some question of the membership. Wanted to make sure there was outside people on board. I feel confident that with the list submitted by Lila from the museum curator here at our facility, Bruce Chapin, the president of the Historical Commission, Mike Sellers is the president of the Brownstown Historical Commission, who is very active in historical preservation regionally, and Joe Bruce is the owner of the historic Welly House, and then Kathy Ritchie Frisk, who's been a charter member of the society, would make up a good historical commission committee. Now it's an offshoot of the commission. I don't know whether we need an actual resolution to do that or just a council vote, but I think the questions have been answered by SHPO. But what we probably need to do now is send this list, if we approve this today, to send this list up to SHPO to make sure they don't have any problems with it, and then that'll be the next step that the Historical Commission can move forward with in the process of creating that Historical District Study Committee. And remember, like any commission or committee, they bring their findings back to us for approval. So they're gonna do all the legwork, all the work with SHPO, all the work with the homeowners to designate certain areas of Flat Rock
I'll make a
Historical
motion
District.
that we accept the list provided by Lila for the numbers.
Okay.
Support.
Motion and support to accept the Historical Commission Chairman's recommendations.
Okay, the list needs to include Lila, I didn't mention, but the list does need to.
Okay,
Yeah, good point.
Sorry.
that's all right. You have this, right? Okay. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously. She's gonna be very happy about that. I think Larry's texting her right now. I don't see her in the audience. I figured you were.
Thanks for recognizing that.
That's all right, that's all right. I was gonna do it after the meeting, so you saved me a step. Next item under, is there any more unfinished business?
No.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, that's, like I said, it's just the dotting the i's and crossing the t's, you know, we don't wanna get in trouble with anybody, so. New business, the approval of the Knights of Columbus Tootsie Roll Drive, October 6th, 7th, and 8th.
So moved.
Okay.
Support.
Motion and support. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously. Next item on the agenda is a waiving of the probationary period from one of our clerk 2 positions. She was previously employed in a part-time position and has now moved into a full-time position, and the treasurer would like that probationary period waived. I concur and would like to make a motion to waive that probationary period if I have support.
Support.
I have motion and support to waive the clerk 2 position. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously. Next item on the agenda is the permission to accept a bid from sewer and water specialists for the drainage in the police and fire department garages, Sally Porton Garage, I guess. We can't discharge into the storm sewers as the building was designed and have to make modifications. And you have those dollar figure before you. Please don't kill the messenger. But we need a motion to approve the sewer and water specialist bid for $75,000.
I'll make a motion.
Support.
Motion and support. Any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously. The next item on the agenda is item D, under new business. Request to appoint interim Chief McKincheck to Police Chief McKincheck.
So moved.
Support?
Motion and support. Is there discussion?
Mr. Mayor, just from my perspective as city attorney, I'd like to put this out there, and I don't know if they'd want to add this to their motion. Under Article 8 of our employment policies for administrative officers, supervisors promoted from the bargaining unit have the ability to go back. I have no idea if Chief McKincheck would ever want to go back if that ever came open. But technically, since he's going from interim chief to chief, he's not in the bargaining. So if you want that, I would just ask you include that in your motion to allow the provisions of Article 8.
I have no problem with it.
Neither do I.
It's just crossing the Ts and dotting the
That's a
Is.
good
and all
idea.
that.
I guess I don't understand why.
Why what?
Why we're appointing him from interim to chief. I don't see any value added to that. I mean,
Do we have a chief? I mean, just interim, might as well make him chief. Doing a good job?
absolutely doing it. I think
Okay.
he's doing a great job, but. Any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Resolution to approve public hearing adjournment. Matthew.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor and Council, as you recall, at our last meeting, I had asked you to set a public hearing regarding the Special Assessment District. The next step in the process is then to send out notices per the roles of the assessor. As we were preparing those notices, it came up that the Michigan Land Bank Authority owns certain parcels, very key parcels of the property in the Special Assessment District. So there's now going to be, I don't want to call it legal wrangling, but there's going to be some working through of legal issues before we can have the public hearing and move forward. So at this time, since it was passed by resolution, I need to have it adjourned by resolution. I'm asking that it be adjourned without date while I work through the issues with the Michigan Land Bank Authority, and I'll report back where we stand with that at the next meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn the public hearing for the Special Assessment District.
Support.
Any more discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously. Madam Clerk, is there any late correspondence?
No.
Citizens be heard, comments or requests. Citizens be heard, comments, requests. Sue, step up. Then I'll get you next, Carl.
Hey, I was quiet till now. I just have as a taxpayer and as a previous employee of the city of Flat Rock for 31 years, my job was eliminated in the DPW, I had to return my keys and my vest and anything else that I had that belonged to the city of Flat Rock. She's not an employee of Flat Rock. She should not have keys. As a beautification commission member and chairperson at one time, not now, after 27 years, we started out, I had keys to the front door when we met here. Then they went to the pad where you had to open the door. We had to turn in all our keys. We had to go and notify the police department when we were coming, and they would unlock the door. I had to go downstairs and notify the police department our meeting was over. They would lock the door, the red light would come on. After that, we met at the recreation center. We had no keys. They were open when we met at 6 o'clock on a Monday. So my opinion as a taxpayer, yes, she should turn in her keys. She no longer works for the city of Flat Rock. Secondly, I made myself notes. As far as DDA goes, another question. Mr. Martin serves on DDA as an advisor, or does he have the right to be voting on issues in DDA?
So he absolutely 100% has the right as a council member who's also a DDA member to serve on both. That
Right,
was-
and
that
that's
was
not
looked
my
at-
question.
Oh, then-
Can he vote
Yes.
on DDA issues, that he's going to turn around and vote on it again at a city council meeting?
Yeah, there was no prohibition in the DDA statute towards that.
Okay. Have to check my notes. Oh, storage. You talked about one of the offices is set up for storage for DDA. They have money. Why can't they buy a storage area somewhere? Why can't they do, add something in the DDA, a storage facility? They have the money. Why can't they do that? There's no reason why they can't.
Closing comments?
Yeah, oh yes, Mark. As far as Huron Woods, yes, I talked to Joanne. I do want to ask you a couple of questions after the meeting since I have 16 seconds. But according to the Constitution, I have the right to speak. Thank you.
Any more citizens be heard? Arlen?
I was going through the city website.
Yes, sir.
About 4 months ago, and I think it's a shame that the councilmen have not got their backgrounds, and even the mayor, up to date on the city website. We've only got 2 councilmen that have their background information. And, now we got election coming up. One councilman for re-election does have it, the other one don't. I mean, I don't understand what the big deal is, why it can't be done, and why they don't hide it, or why they hide it.
Well, I'll tell you personally why mine's not been updated, is we're working through a new web provider, a web page provider. And if I'm not mistaken, this is a temporary setup, that our permanent web page has not been completed yet. And my background has been provided from, you know, the history here in the city, but it's not been updated on the old page because we're waiting for the finished page to be put out. I can update the old one, you know, I didn't think about that, I didn't, you know, it's okay. I don't have anything like that, I'm not hiding anything, you know that.
You're leaving, so, you know. hopefully don't-
Oh, man, that hurt. I'm still here 3 months, though. Anything else, Arlen?
No, that's it.
Thank you. Pat, you got something? Oh, come on.
No.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, elected members. Jesse Cowell, a candidate for mayor, 25683 Gibraltar Road, Flat Rock. Question is for the siren. How much is the bill for the siren to be repaired? And the next one's for you, Councilman Tefend. You brought up a good point about the keys and whatnot, and having her have the ability to have access to this facility. Does she still have her office wherever she has it? And does she still have access to the printer, to all the supplies that she needs to continue her job through the DDA? Is what I want to know. Is she allowed to use those things here within the city hall? Does that make sense?
I can answer the first question.
Go ahead.
The parts are $3,900. Shipping is $250. Bucket truck and labor is $500 and some dollars, a total of $4,795. $4,795. I pride myself on being a little bit of a siren geek. That siren is cooked. I don't know whether they got hit by lightning or wires shorted out.
As long as it gets fixed, that's all that matters.
And it's a panel that is very critical for powering all of the features in that electronic siren, and it's toast, it's all burned up. So that's what it's gonna take, and that's why it was an emergent issue to be brought up tonight.
Sure.
Thank you.
I would assume if she has the key in the offices, she can use whatever she wants.
That's probably not right, is it?
It probably is not.
I agree with you. That's all I have. Anything else?
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Pat, what do you got?
Good evening. As most of you are aware, Forgotten Harvest uses the parking lot at the Elks a couple of times a month. Forgotten Harvest, a food distribution company. They seem to be outgrowing that space and have inquired about using the parking lot, one of the parking lots at the community center. And as I asked the city administrator, I said, I'm not against this kind of idea, but I really think administration and council should at least be asked if you have any opposition to this type of thing. It may not happen. They may go somewhere else. We haven't had a site visit yet. However, I don't want to waste their time. And
So what exactly do they do?
Forgotten Harvest is a food distributor to people that need food.
As a community center, I think it's a great idea.
It's all done, and again, if I can, Pat.
Sure.
Being an Elks member, they came to us and wanted to use the parking lot. It's all outside stuff. We open the bathrooms for the workers, but they stay in their cars and they line up. They've got cones. It's a well-orchestrated machine. They do different locations all over. And they take food distribution from state and county resources and help those that are in need of food. And they line up in their cars and they go to different stations. And they may get canned goods, they may get dry goods, they may get meats, they may get cheeses.
Yes, they pick up at Kroger's, I think. I've seen that truck down there
Yeah,
picking up at
Forgotten
Kroger's.
Harvest does pick
Yeah.
up at Kroger.
I think it's a great idea, and as a community center, I think it's part of what we should be doing.
Well, I kind of thought so, but before I just jumped into it, I wanted to make sure there wasn't any opposition to it.
I'll make a motion that we support the public, or the Parks and Rec Director's efforts into supporting the Forgotten Harvest food distribution if they want to use the community center.
I'll wholeheartedly second it.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
You're on your mission. Any more citizens to be heard? Citizens to be heard? Councilman Roble, anything to discuss on
Motion
item
adjourned.
13?
Support.
Motion by Roble, supported by Martin. Any more discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, or you can just stay here. Thank you. We're adjourned.
I'm gonna come down and see you down there in just